Hi folks, and welcome to my Starfield review. And yes, I know you've heard it all before. Starfield is terrible and Starfield sucks, and you guys even warned me not to waste my time on this game. But like some horrific accident at the side of the road, I just wanted to go and see it for myself to see if it really was as bad as all that. And whilst it may not be a terrible game, I think it is safe to say that Starfield is possibly the blandest game I have ever played, and it does a fine job of just sucking the enjoyment out of almost any activity in the game. So for those of you who've been tied up in somebody's basement for the last 6 months and have never heard of the game, Starfield is supposed to be Bethesda's Skyrim in space. And if you think of Skyrim but without the charm of the beautiful world, that's fairly accurate. You play as the Chosen One, who has some mysterious powers that you don't understand, and nobody else quite understands how you can interact with these things, and that's the main story. You're going to be travelling through space, visiting planets, trying to follow the main quest which will explain the source of these powers and what it's all about. Alongside the main quest, you can go and work for the factions like the Pirates, the Universal Security, lots of little side quests for little groups, the 3-star Rangers, for example. You can visit planets, you can explore, you can mine, you can survey, you can build bases, and you can get involved in ship combat as well. But be warned, if you go off doing your own thing and doing your own side quests, space is big and bland and empty like the planets. And also, anything that was built was designed by the Roman Empire, because they seem to have followed the same blueprints for every single construction of star bases and planetary bases throughout the known universe. You can play in first or third person perspective, and there's going to be a lot of combat, mostly shooting in there, but you can engage in melee combat, and you will unlock some special type of almost magic or Jedi-like powers to use later on. As you play through, you'll pick up various companions from the missions and factions that you work with, who can be put in your ships to maybe enhance their abilities, or set to work on one of your planetary installations doing some work for you there. You can also recruit random staff that you'll bump into in cantinas and tavernas around the universe. Okay then, on to graphics, sound and performance. The graphics are fine. There's nothing special about them, but there's nothing awful about them either. They do look like they come from a slightly dated game design, but overall, they're absolutely fine. Now, there is one persistent issue in cutscenes that you'll either despise or just laugh at, and that's where NPCs will often talk to you over their shoulder whilst they face the other way, or the camera angle will just get something weirdly blocked in a cutscene, and what should be quite an important piece of dialogue will have your companions or NPCs talking at you from behind shelves and walls and doors, and the camera just stares blankly at them. And then we get to the voiceovers, and voiceovers are a large part of games for me. I really like hearing voice actors and storytelling, and this is pretty good in here. It's all professionally voice acted, and I think one of the reasons I like it is because it all sounds very familiar. You'll recognize a lot of these voices from the previous Elder Scrolls games.
In my cabin? Oh, please. Why would I do something so foolish? I'll have you know that the award is locked inside the master safe, located at the purser's office.
And then we get to performance, and this is where Starfield really runs into some major issues. First off, the version I'm playing is the Gamepass for PC, and I don't know if this has more bearing on the problems I run into. Maybe if you were playing on Steam or some other platform, let me know if you ran into the same issues. But the sound bug. This is a horrible, jarring da-da-da-da-da-da sort of noise that comes across whenever you have one of your ship's energy systems set to 1. There's absolutely no need for it, and if you increase that energy system above that, it's fine, and it fixes it, but it shouldn't really be there. That was super annoying until someone in chat pointed out that there's a fix for it. Next off is the game stability, and oh my word, this was awful. I streamed the entirety of Starfield, and I'll put a link in down below if you really want to go and watch it. You're welcome to go check it out. And the game would crash and crash and crash the desktop. We've got to do it. It's crashed. It's just crashed. I can't play this game. I guess we're doing this. Game's crashed. Game's crashed because I put my sodding torch on. Antibiotics. I might take those, although we've never had to worry about those ever. A toy spaceship. Utility knife. Sports bottle. Game's crashed. Game's crashed. What am I supposed to do? I am so close to starting swearing at this. How? I just don't know what a... Oh, God. No warning, it would just freeze up on the screen and then go. And yes, I've got all my drivers updated. I've checked everything. There was no crash reports being sent. There was nothing unusual. And this was just super frustrating. I don't know if you guys experienced the same thing. Let me know whether you did or didn't in the comments, please. Alright then, on to my likes and dislikes, and what did I enjoy about Starfield? There were actually a few things. We'll start with the combat. I liked the gunplay in this. Running around shooting people with automatic weapons, shotguns, sniper rifles, laser weapons, all manner of explosive devices. I thought that was pretty good, although combat does tend to be generally just really chaotic, partly due to the AI in this, as they do some really funky things. But overall, it was good fun. I liked the variety of weapons, types of ammunition, the way they worked and responded. That was all pretty good. I enjoyed the combat. And combat was even more fun when you're playing in a low-G environment, when you can make massive jumps, or even the zero-G environment, as one or two locations in the game are. That was all well done. In fact, the low-G environments in general were well done. They responded to your weight and inertia and momentum quite well, and that just made some places a little bit more interesting to play in. And I also liked the ship builder, where you can go in and custom design your own spaceship, bolting modules on and changing them and upgrading them, although it does take a long time to get your head around it and the values and the way it works and how some things connect to others or don't, as the case may be. But if you persevere with it, you can make some really funky starship designs in this. Alright then, on to the bad stuff, the things I didn't like about Starfield, and this list is massive. I almost don't know where to begin. So I'm just going to list everything, and we're going to jump in right at the beginning of the game. When you land on New Atlantis, this has got to be the worst starting city of any game, any RPG I have ever played, for the simple reason that it is almost impossible to find your way around unless you played the game for 100 hours. Seriously, there's no map overlays. There's no city maps showing you where shops and things are. You can't just press a button and bring up an overlay and you get a bit of a view, even if it's just of the area you explored. There's nothing like that. And the shops and offices and businesses are split up into these really confusingly named districts that you can get a tram between. The tram is actually just a loading screen that just warps you into another instance. There's the commercial district, a mast district, the starport, and something else. But the thing is, the businesses don't all just live in the commercial district. They are split up between the other ones as well. So trying to find your way around in this place is an absolute nightmare. Right, moving on from New Atlantis, I got absolutely sick of the menus in Starfield. Everything is menu driven. You want to travel to another planet? You go through a menu. You don't just get into your ship and take off and fly there, because there isn't actually any real space flight. It's menu, 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 travel, menu, menu, land, menu, menu, go to the city, and that's it. You're just going in and out of menus all the damn time. You're in the ship menu. It's so bland looking as well. You press a button to flick between, say, your inventory, the trader's inventory, the ship's cargo hold. They all look the same, so you constantly have to look up and check the text to make sure you're looking at the right one before you accidentally buy a trader's entire stock of guns when you're trying to sell the entire hoard of guns you've put in the ship's hold. And yes, that sort of stuff does happen. There's not even any proper filters on your inventory. Yeah, okay, so there's a weapons filter and there's an aid filter, and that opens those categories. But under aid, you've got every possible type of drug, med pack, stim, and food available in the game under there. And they're given ridiculous names as well, so it takes a long time to learn what you're actually wanting. And then you go down, you look for the stats on each one, and you can't just filter it by drugs, stims, medical equipment, food, things like that. It's just a really badly designed inventory through another menu. I'm absolutely just fed up of going through these things. And unfortunately, you're going to spend a lot of time in your inventory screen, because one of the main culprits in this game that spoils it is the encumbrance limit. You can carry shit all before you're encumbered. It is really bad. They do not want you picking up guns and spacesuits to go and sell at traders, which is why we play these games, right? We play RPGs to go and loot the bad guys, take their stuff, keep the nice things that we want, because some of them are good upgrades, and sell the trash to the blacksmith in town. Yes, I know, I'm referring back to the Elder Scrolls games, but that's what I used to love doing. You won't do that here nearly as much, partly because you're always over encumbered, and that has massive repercussions just trying to move around because it slows you down. You can't sprint as far. You'll actually poison yourself with a CO2 buildup in your spacesuit of trying to exert yourself too much. Also, the other reason is that you won't be selling all your gear to traders is because none of them have enough money to buy all the crap that you can pick up. So even if you do go to the effort of picking things up, running around encumbered, storing it in your ship's hold until that's full, and then finally finding someone who can buy some of this stuff, they don't have enough credits that they can buy it all out. And the trader's credits only reset after a couple of days, so that you can wait around in town for a couple of days using the wait button, which, by the way, it isn't like sleeping and waking up 8 hours later. These hours tick by very slowly, and you have to watch the menu. That's just something that just shouldn't have been a thing. So inventory management, selling stuff, trading stuff, it's all just an utter pain in the arse, completely. You know, I said at the start of the video, they managed to suck the enjoyment out of everything in the game. Yeah, that's just exactly what they've done here. It gets to the point where you don't enjoy looting and selling anymore because it's just too awkward. Now, for a space game, there's no real space flight in this at all. Sure, you can jump in the ship and press take off, and you get treated to a little loading scene which shows your ship launching from the planet. But that's really it. If you want to travel from planet to planet, you open up the menu, select the system, press travel, arrive there after a loading screen, open up the system, select the planet, press land there after a loading screen. You never actually feel like you're flying the ship outside of the ship-to-ship combat, which there is a little bit in the game. But guess what? If you jump into a system, there's an encounter there, someone's trying to hail you and you don't like the sound of this, you don't have to go through with it. You just quickly open up the map, select a planet, and jump to it. And it's all done by the menu. Never is there a time when you feel like you have to hit the afterburners and flying low through a planet's atmosphere, trying to find a place to land. It's all automated, and it's boring. It's not No Man's Sky. It's not Elite Dangerous. Both of those have much better spaceflight models and certainly space combat models. And speaking of planets, atmospheres and things, a lot of the planets are just empty, barren rocks. Yes, I know, just like space is. But here, you're supposed to be able to go and explore the planets, and you can, but there's mostly nothing to see there. It does encourage you to go and scan all the planets to survey for resources, and that's just not engaging at all. You put your scanner on and you walk around, so you see a blue blob on the floor which represents a mineral that you haven't surveyed yet, and you get right up close to it and you press scan, and that one turns green, and then you try and find the other 8 or 9 on that planet that you haven't scanned yet. That's surveying. It's boring as hell. Why would you want to survey in the first place, you ask? Well, you can set up planetary bases that'll start mining resources for you, and the resources they mine, I think you can use them to manufacture more stuff, but you do use them to research new mods and upgrades for your spacesuit and your guns, all of which requires skill points, by the way, and I didn't bother wasting my skill points on any of that because they're quite restricted. Talk more about that coming up, because that's a really big thing. But I'm going to refer back to the issues with inventory management and encumbrance, and even having a big hold on the starship isn't enough, and arsing about with resources and things just didn't feel like it was a good use of my time when I couldn't carry enough shit in the first place and couldn't fit in the stuff I wanted to sell in the ship's hold. See, my philosophy when I went into the game was I was going to become a pirate. I didn't need to do all the mining and stuff. If I needed resources, I would either take it from other ships, I would board them and take their stuff, which is something you can do. Again, not worth it because of the inventory management hassles. Or I would do piracy stuff, earn some money and buy it from the traders. And again, didn't do any of that because of the problems with the traders and inventory management. So that side of the game was completely wasted on me, unfortunately. Right, so let's start talking about some of the quests in the game. There's lots of little side quests, which often turn out to be fetch quests, which are like, go here, talk to the guy, bring back the book, or bring back the whatever, or bring back the money he owes. There's some silly, really silly side quest, which is I had to deliver a letter by hand from one planet to the next. And when you get to the next planet, the person who is expecting the letter says, "Oh yes, thank you very much. She phoned ahead to let me know you were coming with it." I'm thinking, if you can contact people across star systems, why are you sending a letter by hand? So stuff like that feels like it's just been pulled across from the Elder Scrolls games, where delivering letters from city to city made sense, to space with modern future technology, where it totally doesn't. Now, the main faction quests, like the Pirates, the Free Star Rangers, those are a bit more interesting. I don't know whether I would call them good, but some of them are definitely more interesting and worth doing. And they do involve you making some decisions which will probably alienate you with other factions, and that sort of stuff's all fine, I guess. But there's so much boring shit to do in this game that you just very quickly don't want to do any of it. And that's what I did, decided to propel myself down the main story quest line. Also, NPCs in this game, whether they're your companions, they are full of just boring chatter, or even worse, they start talking over each other during a cutscene. You've got some dialogue going on with someone who's delivering some speech on a quest, and one of your companions starts talking to somebody else in your ear just behind you, and you just got this really annoying chat going on that's distracting you. Hi folks, it's Future Mark here, and just to let you know that the next couple of points I bring up might be considered as spoilers, so if you would still like to remain unpleasantly surprised at what awaits you in Starfield, then you might want to just skip ahead to the conclusion section, and you can find that just by the little chapter bars at the bottom of the video. Did you know that was a thing, by the way? I do that in all my reviews. If you want to rewatch a section or skip ahead, you can find it just at the bottom along the timeline, and you can go back and forth and watch as you please. One of the things that I found really stupid is that after you find out you can do space powers, you pick them up from these space temples, these abandoned temples from the race that has been before you, or so you think at that point. Maybe they're aliens, maybe they're not. You'll find out in due course. So anyway, you go to these temples, they're completely abandoned, there's nothing guarding them, and you float around picking up space bubbles in the zero-G environment inside the temple. And once you've picked up about 6 or 7 or 8, it seems to be a little bit random, I don't know if they're bugged or not, you are rewarded with a spinny thing you can walk through, and you pick up another power. And the first time you do it, you think, this is weird. Actually, the first time I did it, I couldn't even see these bubbles floating around until someone in chat pointed out that's what I was supposed to do. It's not obvious, and why would it be? Picking up almost invisible space bubbles in a zero-G environment gives you magic powers? I don't know. But anyway, you repeat this over and over and over. There are multiple temples, and as you're going to find out in a minute, you're going to do these multiple times in multiple playthroughs, and it is ridiculous. Why? It makes no sense. Who invented this minigame, and who thought players would like to do this dozens of times? I mean, there's not even like a complex of guards or enemies to fight your way through to get into one of these places to be rewarded with a power. It's even worse than the repetitive Oblivion gates in Oblivion, which were like copy-pasted things after a while, and you had to fight your way through the same demons in pretty much the same layout of the gates just to get to the end of them. But at least you had some fighting to do. Here, there's not even that. And then that leads me on to the big issue, the really big issue I have with that, and that is the leveling system and New Game Plus. Now, for those of you not familiar, New Game Plus is a feature that's baked into many role-playing games, and it's done usually as a reward to the players for finishing the game. What happens is you finish the game, and if you want to play through it again, you've got the option of starting in New Game Plus mode, where you begin right back at the beginning of the game, but you usually are allowed to keep the powers and skills that you've leveled up. For example, in The Witcher, you could go and do that. And then maybe the enemies that you meet there are scaled in relation to your levels, so you still got a challenge, but all the exciting, cool stuff you've unlocked, you get to keep. Sometimes maybe even equipment. The way it works in Starfield is that it's not a reward for finishing the game. It is the game. It is part of the story. You are supposed to not just play through this once and think, well, that was fun, I might give it another go one day. You are supposed to go through it again and again and again. It's like Groundhog Day. That is basically the story. It is Groundhog Day. It uses the cheap trope of saying it's a multiverse. You do it once, You jump into another universe which is identical, except you're back at the start. You keep those skills you've leveled up and those powers you've got, because guess what? You can't level everything up in one playthrough, and it's designed to be played through multiple times doing the exact same dull and boring shit just to get to the later skill levels. And when I was playing the game, I didn't know this was how it was going to work, and I was looking at the skill points and the skill levels I was getting, and I'm thinking, I can't unlock everything that I need. Well, the way it works with the skill system is that you need to put a skill point into something to start unlocking them, like maybe rifles, pistols, and once you put a skill point in, you'll be challenged to get so many kills with that weapon, for example. And when you've got that many, next time you level up, you'll get another skill point to spend. You can choose to put it in there or put it in something else. So you need to unlock things like your starship piloting ability, all the surveying stuff, the fitness stuff, so you can carry more, you've got more stamina, all the medical stuff, side stuff, guns. Jesus Christ, there's everything you need to do in the game. You have to unlock it with skill points. You don't level up fast enough to get enough skill points to get everything you want. Lockpicking, sneaking, crime, stealth. You need to put points in all these things and multiple times to get the other levels. So I remember playing this at the start of the game. I'd put 1 point into my lockpicking, which is a weird kind of mini game. Some people like it, some people hate it. I didn't mind it, as it turned out. And I was meeting like master level locks during some of the first quests and places I was sent to explore. And I'm thinking, hey, am I supposed to come back here later? There's no possible way I can do those because I haven't unlocked the ability to attempt master level locks. It's not that they were too hard. It's that you need to unlock the skill certain number of times before you can even attempt those type of locks. And now I know why. It's because you're supposed to play the game over and over and over again to get the later stuff. You start in New Game Plus. You basically go back to the start of the game and repeat it. And that is the only way you're going to get all those skills unlocked that you want to play with. You want to fly a bigger and better ship? Well, I hope you've done enough space combat and spent the skill points in piloting, because you're not going to be able to buy the next level of ship that you want unless you've done that. But at the same time, you want to be unlocking all the weapon stuff and the fitness stuff and the things that allow med packs to heal you more. There's just too many important skills to put your points into in one playthrough. But I don't want to play through this a second time, partly because of the bugs and the crashes that we've come across, but mainly because it's just bland and annoying to play. So I didn't want this video to turn into such a long rant about Starfield, but I felt like there was a lot of things that I needed to say. And in conclusion, Starfield is just a game that tries to make everything fun, difficult and awkward, and it's not very enjoyable for the most part. And the rest of the game that doesn't make things awkward is just bland and doesn't really engage you all that much. So it's a massive disappointment. And for people who say, well, it's just Skyrim in space, yeah, okay, so the activities are very similar, but Skyrim had so much charm about it. When you were going from city to city, you weren't just going through loading screen and menus. In Skyrim, you were traveling across this vibrant, rich landscape full of plant life, streams, trout in the streams, birds in the sky, wildlife running around, maybe a random town or a bunch of vagabonds to fight on the way. It was interesting and engaging stuff. There was flowers to pick and just pretty things to look at and listen to. And it was awesome. It had a charm. For example, the food in Skyrim, oh my God, it looked awesome. The cheese wheels, the bowls of apples, the tables set out for you to enjoy. In Starfield, all the food is just a cubic chunk wrapped in foil. Whether it's an apple, a piece of meat, even wine, they're called chunks, corporate chunks. They all look the same. They have shit all effect that's worth bothering with. They take up space in the inventory, and there's just no charm about it whatsoever. And perhaps that was the design decision and the effect they were going for, but by God, it makes it uninteresting to play. So anyway, folks, I do hope you found this video useful. I feel a lot better for getting that off my chest. And now I'm going to go and play something a whole lot more fun. So join me for some live streams over the next few weeks as we try out new games and find something that hopefully is a lot more enjoyable. And of course, if you do want to go and check out my playthrough of Starfield, want to see some of it, then there's links down below if you're interested. Always let me know what you think of the game if you played through it and whether you're intending to pick it up if not. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again on the next one.